All right, so I see Gilbert has said yes. Okay, CN, Ava. Okay, the rest done? Good? All right. So how many of you, am I going too fast? Okay, how many of you have a answer just like that? Oh, I see someone trying to play with it. Okay, Gilbert has that. Melissa has that. All right, who does not have this? Chelena and Sabine, can you tell me what you have? Like, unmute yourself. Tell me, what do you have?
So
Yes.
I didn't go from that end. Like when you were highlighting the left side, I kind of was trying to go into another route. So that's what I had.
Okay.
I went backwards.
You went backwards. Okay, so cool. You went backwards. Anybody else have other solutions? No? Okay, cool. Did you think about this?
That was my first answer, but I
When you
figured that was
asked,
cheating.
I agree. When you asked for an alternate, that's my first thought is like, oof.
Yeah.
No, I thought that would be cheating.
Yeah, okay. So this is where there was no rules. And also you could have asked questions, right?
Yeah.
Strategy is about thinking of all the permutations and also not just thinking about the how, but also thinking about the what and the why. Like nobody asked me, what are we doing? Nobody asked, why are we doing it? Okay, all right. Strategic thinking. So the word strategy can mean a lot of things. Earlier when I asked y'all, what do you think of when you think of strategy? You told me vision, you told me planning, you told me voice of the customer, you told me finding solutions, you told me about the future, right? But strategy also means strategic thinking. Those things that you mentioned, it is strategy, but sometimes it can be seen as a centralized kind of strategy that only happens with leadership. But when we talk about strategy, there's also this element of strategic thinking, which I personally believe everybody needs to exercise. And just as the image shows, it's like you have to exercise your brain for it, right? And I think it's really apt that Susmita had suggested doing strategy as an icebreaker, because when we talk about careers, when we talk about ourselves, right, our lives, and also for some of us here, we're business owners, when we talk about the business, we need to think about strategically, like what, we have to think more than just what's in front of us. Okay. So, questions for you. Earlier, I say instead of just thinking about the how to do something, you also think about the what and the why. So before Dana comes on, think about this. What do you want to achieve? And what is so important to you and why? Maybe just take a couple minutes and write that down. It could be related to your career, or for some of you here, I know some of us have our own business. Think about that. Like, what do you want to achieve? Because with strategic thinking, you always have to start with what you want to achieve personally first, before you even talk about your business, before you even talk about your family, your life, or whatever. Just think about yourself first. And then from then, and I always start that way whenever we do strategy exercises with companies that we work with as well, because if they don't know what they personally want, and we just talk straight about the company, there's no alignment anymore. And then we'll end up having to constantly, whether or not, and this is a lot of responsibility on the owner and on the leader, the main leader, because they're gonna have to hold the weight of it all. And they're going to have to constantly pull their team. And that is extremely tiring, right? So think about this. All right. I'm not going to ask you all to share because this is kind of personal, but it's important for us to think about these deep questions. All right. Question for you. Chess. I'll tell you a story. I used to be a chess player when I was young. And I think my best ranking was 5th internationally in a digital competition. So a lot of people don't know that about me. This is probably the first time I'm sharing that in the United States. So how many chess pieces do we have on a chessboard? It's not a trick question. You can, anybody wants to give it a shot? Chat? Or just unmute yourself? Kale, you're trying to say something, but I can't hear you.
Oh, is it 36?
Zoom doesn't want Sarah to tell us.
Sarah, your
So-
screen froze up.
36.
Yeah.
Kale was asking if it was 36.
Yeah, it's not 36. It's not 16. But yes, okay, I see that. Yep. So we have 32. So there are 32 chess pieces on a chessboard. Next question. How many ways of play are there in the first move? First move, I'm not saying in the entire game. I'm just saying the first move. Just give it a guess.
How many ways of play?
Oh, no.
Yeah, ways of play, like permutations. Like what could I do? Like maybe I do my pawn move, right? I move it 2 spaces up ahead. I was gonna say like E4 or something, but you guys are not gonna know that. Only people who play chess like competitively will remember all the board numbers and permutations. But anyways, moving the pawn, that's one way, right?
32.
How many? 32? That's the number of pieces. That's not the number of ways of play.
Oh,
Okay, I'll give you the answer. It's 400 ways.
boo. Okay, way off.
There's 400 ways. Okay. Now, when we first start learning chess, okay, we don't memorize anything. We don't learn like various ways of plays yet. We just play, right? We just play to get used to it. But there are actually 400 ways you can play for that first move, just the first move alone. Okay. What about the first 4 moves? What do you think? Okay, CN has 1600. Nice.
1200.
I think it's 400.
400? We'll try again.
Probably 400 factorial or something like that.
Yeah, it definitely has a formula to it, but it's I see the faces. Yes, it is a lot. But think about it this way, okay? It's like chess. When you have to think through your chess moves when you're playing a game of chess. Now, not everybody thinks this way, right? There are gonna be people who can think like maybe 1 to 2 moves ahead, right? That's normal. That's okay. 1 to 2 moves ahead. There are gonna be people who think like 5 to 10 moves ahead. There are also gonna be people who are like the grandmasters who could think up to like 20-ish moves ahead. But then there are 318 billion ways that you can play just in the first 4 moves. Okay, let's tie that back to life, to business, to your career, to your own life, okay, to your own thinking and planning. And then contrast that to the people around you. How far ahead can you think? Because that's another thing. It's a different perspective to strategy. And I know that a lot of people don't think about strategy this way. This is not one of those design thinking, let's have fun exercises. This is really about like the game of thought, right? Thank God I wasn't counting. Yes, thank God you weren't counting. The more moves you can conceptualize ahead of your competitors, the more the odds are in your favor. Okay, so that's pretty much strategy, right? So here's what I'm going to leave you with, okay? Strategic thinking is about being unconventional. It's about thinking outside of the box. So the maze game that we played earlier on, it's about thinking outside of the box. It's about asking the deep questions. It's the what's, the whys. And you don't stop at the two that I share with you, but you go further. Just be curious about every single thing. Like, why is it that Sarah's not doing this in form of I don't know, ALN, we usually play those Kahoot games, right? Why are we not talking about strategy in form of quizzes? Why is it that, you know, I'm where I am in my life right now? Why is it that, you know, there is this goal that I want to have. I want to start my own business, but I have not done it. Why? What's stopping me? Why is that stopping me? Keep on going. Don't stop. Like, keep going, keep going, keep going. The minute you stop is the day that, you know, someone else is going to outcompete you. All right. It's also about thinking how many steps ahead. So if you can think far, far ahead, you're ahead of your competitor, right? And who is your competitor? That's another thing to be curious about, right? Who are your competitors? All right. Then there's also this thing called endgame practice. And this is something that, again, because I play chess, right? Endgame practice is basically taking games that have been played by other people, or maybe even yourself. You memorize the last, maybe like before 15 moves before the end of the game. This could be a board, right? So we take those boards and we practice. And there's a reason why we do that. And it's the same with life. Sometimes we look for models, people that we can role model after, right? And we look at these models and we study their lives. How did they get where they got? It's the same with the end game, because there are just in the first 4 moves for chess, you have 318 billion ways you can play. In life, maybe even more, because there are so many things that can happen in life. So it's almost impossible for you to just keep on like planning. Like, probably you can't do more than 4 moves. I don't know. Okay. But if you think about where you want to be, again, the question that we asked ourselves just now, if we think about where we want to be, and then we look for models, we can do this same thing in chess that everybody who plays competitively would do. The end game practice. You do the same thing in your life, and then you model after that person. Don't just look at how they got to win the game, but also think about how they got there. How did they get to this particular end game scenario? And then it's also about long-term versus short-term. So in strategy, if you can think long-term, that makes you more strategic than someone who's thinking now and constantly putting out fires and constantly just thinking about how am I going to get this done, right? You're thinking about what's next. You're thinking about why are we doing this? How am I going to align myself with my organization and all that? And I'm not going to get any further than that because Dana is going to share more about careers. But we need to have the right mindset. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this very unconventional way of doing an icebreaker, but it is strategy, I promise. And if there's any other questions that you have for me or what I do, I would love to have virtual coffee with y'all. You can get me through email, or I will put in my LinkedIn profile in the chat. We can have conversations there. And also just a quick plug, because I do this business with my husband. He is having a book that we're launching in June of this year. It's called Culture for the Left Brain Leader. If you guys are interested in things to do with culture and you're interested in how to look at it from a left brain perspective, do check out that site. Drop your emails in there so that you'll be first to know when there are offers and when it's going to be released. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. That was really, really a great way of learning more about the strategy. And I know that 318 billion number is not going to flash up every single time I think of strategy, but it is, it was surely a fun way. So with that, just continue on with some ALNH announcements before I hand it off to our speaker for the evening. Shameless photo opportunity. I'll request that all of you just take about a few seconds to take a picture with all the folks that we have out here, all the And again, do a selfie, post it on your social media, LinkedIn, and hashtag ALNH. I know we've gotten a few tips from Wade in the past about taking some good selfies. Don't be shy. Awesome. Looks like there's quite a few of us that have snapped pictures. Again, we are free, but kind of, we do appreciate you giving us some feedback to help us grow. So please do take a picture of the QR code on the screen. And I do have Gilbert posting the survey link on the chat as well. Please do take a few minutes during or after the session to provide us your feedback. Again, we are who we are because of we do have a lot of support from our sponsors. As you've heard from a couple of them today, from Culture Architect, Culture and Strategy, and Agile Learning Academy. We do have some of the other sponsors that are listed out here, and we appreciate all of them. We do have, this is our new ALNH board that got initiated in 2020. Melissa Betts, who's on the call here, is our president. And then Gilbert, who's helping me with the tech support, is our executive secretary, serving as a Scrum Master. We've got Eva on the call as well, myself, Susmita, programming lead, and I've got Shay on the call that I saw earlier, and she's helping us on the programming side as a volunteer. We do have some open positions out here. If you are interested or know of anyone that is interested in helping us and helping us grow ALNH, please do reach out to us. And we do, again, do like to, as I said, volunteers. We do have, we do appreciate your time and help. If we could use all the help we could get. And from a volunteer perspective, if you're interested, please do let us know. Also, if you know of anyone who's interested in speaking at any of our upcoming events, please do reach out to us. You can see the email that's listed out here, and also we'll be posting it out in the chat for you to grab. And then from our upcoming Agile events, these are some of the upcoming training events that we have from some of our sponsors. Agile Learning Academy, like Sabine covered, has 3 upcoming classes in the March-April timeframe. And then we've got Evolve Agility, who's also a sponsor of ALNH, that has some sessions to do with the Scrum trainings available in the March and April timeframe. For our upcoming ALNH meeting, we do meet every first and third Thursday of every month. The third Thursday this month is on the 18th. And we have the pleasure of speaking at that event with Eva, who's also part of the ALNH board. And we're going to talk about PI planning, one of the SAFE framework events. And then we do have Vaka, who's also a sponsor of ours, who's going to help us do an icebreaker about branding yourself. So that's if you haven't heard from or seen Vaka in some of the branding forums and conferences that they're part of, I would strongly encourage you to register. And again, the registration URL is what you see on the screen. We'll also be pasting that into the chat for you to register for the event on Eventbrite. With that, again, the much awaited speaker for tonight, Dana, she is going to talk to us about challenging our career journeys. Dana, as I think a lot of us have briefly mentioned in the previous speaker or previous folks that have talked on this call also have mentioned, is an international speaker, a coactive leadership coach, and an author of several publications and agile games. She is, again, we are very looking forward to her speaking at the event and have the pleasure of having her join us today. With that, I will hand it off to Dana to take it away for today.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Susmita. It's my pleasure to be here today. And what you will find is that I will be doing very little talking, and mostly I will make you do all the talking and all the interaction, because that's what I love doing, is to harvest the wisdom of the crowd, harvest the ideas that you bring to these sessions. It's not going to be much about me, it's going to be about you. Especially because the topic I want to bring in is about challenging your career journey. The reason why I picked that topic, because it's March, and March 8th, some of you know, some of you may not know, it's actually International Women's Day. And yes, it's the holiday that we started celebrating very recently here in US, but this is a holiday that I grew up celebrating when I was growing up in Russia. It's actually a day off for the entire country. And so for me, it's the favorite holiday of mine. So what's interesting is that this year, the hashtag for International Women's Day in US is choose to challenge. And people are coming up with all the different things that they choose to challenge. And I chose to challenge our career journey. And that's what this session is about, is how to think about your career from a different perspective, how to challenge your career and how to help yourself get unstuck in some of the areas that you might be stuck for a long time and not making decisions on what to do next. I love how Sarah brought in a few questions about what is that you really want to do and why. And this is something similar. I'm going to give you 5 questions that you will be asking each other throughout the session, because what I'm doing today, I'm actually merging 2 different passions of mine. One is liberating structures. We will be playing with one of them. And the other one is something that I'm learning very recently, professional coaching. So I'm bringing 5 what's called powerful questions, and you will be using these 5 powerful questions together with liberating structures that I will introduce you to. So how does that sound? Okay, awesome. So I just sent you a link to Mural, and if you can just click on it and get there, it'd be awesome, because basically this is a visitor's link, so you don't need to log in or anything. If this is your first time in Mural, what might be surprising is that you will get this weird name assigned to you. It's like visiting monkey, visiting octopus. So I always tell people in my trainings that it has no reflection on your character or like your upbringing, none of that stuff. This is just something that Mural generates randomly. Okay, so don't feel offended if you got some weird animal assigned to you. Again, no reflection on you whatsoever. Give me just raise your hand if you have never used Mural before. Okay, so a few people. So I'm going to make it very quick and easy. So first, I'll do the presentation portion of it, which is going to be very brief. And then I'll explain how you can actually engage with the Mural boards and do the rest of the exercise. Okay. So for that, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so what you're seeing right now, this is a Mural board. And the way how we're going to be navigating in there is using these little outlines, because every outline is a specific section in the Mural. So I may be showing something here, I can zoom in or out, or I can just go directly to specific outline and that outline will be highlighted. And oh, look, it's outlined about me. So my name is Dana, and yeah, I've done a whole bunch of different things because I get bored doing the same thing over and over again. I used to be a Java developer a long time ago. Then at some point, there was an opportunity to become a DBA manager. And of course, I took the position, not because I knew anything about how to be a DBA manager, but because it was something new. And I felt like as a developer, I could definitely manage DBAs, no biggie. So that's how my first interaction with the operations side of the world came into picture. And that's what really inspired me to start thinking about how to merge the disconnect and how to help developers understand operations better and operations to understand better what is happening for development team. And that's where my passion for DevOps came into picture. And that's what Sabine has mentioned, that she knows me as a DevOps person. Yes, one incarnation of me was a DevOps person. So I like agile games. And so one of the games that I created was introducing DevOps using Lego and Chocolate. So that's one of the books I've written. I have tons of other games that I like playing, and some of them are diving specifically into psychological safety or fear in the workplace, which is kind of a hard topic to talk about unless you play in the game. Because in the game, it's all becoming fun, and now you can talk about fear without really hurting anybody's feelings or being apprehensive about it, because you're playing the game. So in any case, that's not what I'm doing right now. So right now I am still playing with liberating structures, but moving more towards professional coaching, learning about coactive and really discovering how different professional coaching is from what we know in the agile coaching space. One thing that I had to unlearn is how to give people advice. Because what we do as agile coaches, we come and we tell you, hey, this is what you need to do here. You need to use Scrum here. You need to use Kanban over there. As professional coach, you can't give advice like whatsoever. It's about asking questions, just like what Sarah was mentioning about good questions and strategies, thinking. That's what coaches helping you do. Thinking, asking these powerful questions. So in any case, that's what I am going to be merging here today, liberating structures and a little bit of powerful questions from the coaching. If you haven't heard about liberating structures, this is something that Henry Lipmanovich and Keith McKendall created a few years ago. And what they really did, they brought many different practices from various areas and they made them almost like into this library of facilitation techniques that you can use. They simplified it in a way that you can pick up the Liberating Structures book or even an app, read about how to run a specific structure and get the benefit from that structure without being a highly qualified facilitator who spent 15 years learning how to facilitate. Of course, someone with extensive experience will get more out of it, but even people like you and me will get a lot of value using these techniques in their organizations with their teams, because one of the biggest benefits of liberating structures is tapping into everybody's opinion in the room and bringing everyone, introvert, extrovert, whoever you have in your room, liberating structures are going to engage them all. And that's what I really love about them, is that ability to bring them into any size of organization or any size of group and really leverage that wisdom of the room and differences of opinion and engaging everyone in making even strategic decisions or any kind of decisions, any kind of collaboration. You can bring liberating structures in. So these icons that you see in here, these are icons for the different structures that are out there. I encourage you to read more about them, and if you have an opportunity to experience, definitely join in. Right now, there are a lot of meetups that are organizing different sessions on liberating structures, so there's definitely tons of opportunities to learn more about them. I run one in New York City, but again, I'm not the only one. There are many people who are bringing liberating structures into Agile community, and this is definitely something to look into. Today, we're going to learn about one of them, but this one I love. I love them all, but this one is specifically useful for many reasons. So one, and I'm going to show you the one that I'm talking about. So this is something that's called Ecocycle Planning. So what you're seeing here, this is how it looks like when we run it in the physical space. So this Ecocycle that you see on the wall, this is something that's a final step of merging everything together. But we start with everyone doing the individual ecocycle and thinking about organizing a collection of things. So in this specific example, we were working with different topics to bring into the user group, different skills we wanted to learn, different ideas we wanted to explore. I like using it for identifying what are the different skills that team might need in order to work on specific project. You can also use Ecocycle for thinking about your portfolio of projects the company is working on, portfolio of products that you want to maintain. And today we're going to use the Ecocycle for thinking about your career and thinking about all these different opportunities that might be available to you in the future, things that you're working on today and curious about exploring further, and things that maybe you just heard about and you want to dive in a little bit more as you go forward. Any questions so far? Okay.
Dana, this is Gilbert. I have a quick question.
Of
Do you
course.
want me to include links to the web pages that you've mentioned, or now, or at the end, or maybe later?
You're going to post them?
In the chat.
Yeah, that's fine. Anytime. That's
Okay,
cool.
thank
That's all cool. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for asking. So yes, one of the pages you want to go to is liberatingstructures.com because that one has, and that's the beauty of it. What the whole work that they created. Yes, there is a book that you can buy, but you can also go to their website and entire content of the book is available on the website. There is also Liberating Structures app that's absolutely free, and you can look through and you can pick those things. And there's a huge community that's really continuing developing the structures, continuing iterating on them, practicing them, and helping bring them into all different areas of our life and work. It's not just for Agilists. In fact, Agilists are kind of the last ones who are catching up with Liberating Structures. These have been used in mediation, they've been used with all sorts of government structures. They've been used all over the world for many different purposes. So again, something that I discovered accidentally, and I really love using it for many different purposes because they give the voice to everyone in the room.
Thank you.
Of course. So how does Ecocycle looks like? So I'm gonna introduce you to what's on it. I'm going to show you a sample of one of the ecocycles that we've done with the teams, and then I'm going to let you loose to actually build one for yourself, and then have a little team discussion about it. So think about this ecocycle as analogy with nature. So there are different areas that in nature, different periods that the nature is going through, right? So if you're thinking about just a little package of seeds that you're getting from a store, so these seeds, this is something that's here. This is this renewal or gestation. So if you plant that seed, it may grow. If you never plant that seed and you keep it in your package that you got from the store, then nothing is going to come out from it. Right. And so similarly, as it relates to our skills or interest, if you heard about these awesome books that were mentioned today in this session, but we never done anything about it, we're not going to learn anything from it. Right. So it's only if we actually go to Amazon.com, buy the book, open it when it comes, when we put some effort, that's when our learning is going to grow. But if it's just a link in the chat, just not going to do anything. So this is the area where renewal, gestation, that's another name for it. This is where those things that you just heard about, something that just sparked your interest, but you haven't done anything about it yet. This is where these things will go. Then if you started doing something with that new information, then your new skill is going to be born. So this is where it's just beginning to develop. It's just something very new, very fresh, very fragile at that state. And so you can think about it, just this little seedling, it's just, sprouting and it's just coming out of this ground. And so it's very fragile and beautiful, and it can be very nice to continue it for it to grow, or it could be killed, depending on what the conditions are around it. So thinking about it from that standpoint, again, your specific skills or interest or aspirations might be in this category as well. Then if conditions are right and you continue developing that specific skill of yours, then at some point it becomes mature, just like a tree that's now is very strong and now cannot be broken by just this little winds or rains. It's becoming something that you rely on, something that you can do with your eyes closed. And for many of you, is what you do every day. When you go to work, you know certain things and you're known for those things and you can do them. You don't need to look them up because this is something that's in maturity for you. And then at some point in our career and professional life, we get tired of things, okay? And we may be known for those things in our organization or our community, but those things don't bring joy anymore. And it's time for those things to be creatively destructed. And I know it may sound harsh, like it's destruction, but there is this creative aspect of it. Because when you are destructing something creatively, it means that you are creating space for new. Just like on your bookshelf, you have all these different books and there is no place for the new one to go unless you give away some of the older ones that you're no longer reading. Does it make sense? Okay. Two things I haven't mentioned. These white boxes over here. This first one is called poverty trap. And poverty in this context is something that speaks to either lack of resources, lack of money, lack of time. So you don't have enough to develop something, right? Just like we were talking about this little package of seeds, it can get stuck here if you don't have a pot to plant it in, or you have no water to water it, whatever that lack of resources that's created. So sometimes we feel that things can get stuck here, even for our own professional interest and our own skills. And I'll show you one of the examples where it makes sense, because yes, we may have tons of interest, but we have 24 hours a day. And we don't want to spend all 24 hours for work, right? So that kind of limits us in what we want to do and what we're able to do. And then the other side of Ecocycle, this rigidity trap. This is where things get stuck. The things that we don't want to let go for whatever reason. It could be, just to give you an example, maybe you're the only person in this company who knows how to write COBOL. And yes, for this company, maybe it's important, but you are tired of the programming language. It's been there forever. You want to learn something new. You want to learn Kubernetes or whatever is that what you want to learn. But because you're the only person who knows COBOL and you're getting paid for it very well, you're kind of stuck in that rigidity trap. It might be bringing you income, but it's no longer giving you joy. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Does it resonate? Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have a question on it.
Of course.
So, so from going from creative destruction to, I guess it would go to renewal, right?
Yep.
Because you find something new in your life that you are getting a mature skill set. So, if you're changing that, like, I mean, is it in order to avoid the poverty trap, right? So how, like, what are some techniques to like invest in it? I mean, without like the monetary aspect, but actually investing in it in order to get to that birth part.
Yeah. And we will be discovering these techniques as we do the exercise. Okay. Cool. Yeah, because it's all a matter of priority, right? It's all a matter of asking those very important questions that Sarah shared with us, right? So what's really important? What do you want to focus on? And what's the priority for you? Because you can't accomplish everything, but you can definitely move things along the ecocycles that are most important to you. Okay, so I'm going to share one of the examples and then I'm going to just throw you in so you can start playing with it instead of just hearing me talk. So here's one of the examples that I've done this, one of the classes that I facilitate in Liberating Structures. So this should resonate with you Agilists, because you'll see some certification names in here. You'll see some names of the frameworks and so on and so forth. Because for this person, what was in gestation, they were thinking about maybe they should take this certified Agile leadership class, or maybe they just heard about system thinking and system coaching. Maybe this is something that they want to explore. What was in the poverty trap, look at this one, coaching as the full-time job. Obviously they want to do it, but for whatever reason, they can't do it yet. And so it might be stuck here for months or years, you don't know. Or writing a book, leadership, interesting books, so things might be stuck here, good things. And what Ecocycle helps you do is actually visualize that and help you reflect on, out of all these things that I'm interested in, can do, want to do, where do they land in this Ecocycle? And if things that I'm really interested are landing in the poverty trap and they stay there for a long time, then I need to reevaluate something in what I'm doing. Make sense? Yeah. And I find it interesting to do this Ecocycle like once a quarter, just to see how things progress or not. Okay, so here, as you can see, someone was just learning about large-scale community building, design thinking, remote facilitation, was moving more towards the growth and maturity, and then some other stuff over here. I love how for this person, Agile, Scrum, and Kanban is in creative destruction. Did you notice that? Not to say that it's a bad thing, right? So it might be, for someone, it might be in gestation. But for this person, they've done it for so long that they want to do something else. So what you'll see that Ecocycle is very specific to where people are in their life, career, and what they want to do. So there's no right or wrong. It's all different. Okay. So how do you feel about giving it a try? Awesome. So what I'm going to do, I am going to ask you to play around with, one of these 4 Ecocycles. So I'm going to bring one of them on the top just to show you. And I know this is a little bit interesting because you're going to think about your career and you're doing it in kind of public meetup. So think about the level of details that you want to put, because I want you to be comfortable with the exercise, also get some value out of it. So if there is something you don't want to share, don't share, but think about just maybe giving it a try in this forum and then coming back afterwards and then drawing your own Ecocycle on a piece of paper and then really going deep on that Ecocycle. How does that sound? Can we try that? Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to see how many breakout rooms we can create, given the number of people that we have right now. Okay. Nice. So it looks like we actually can have 4 breakout rooms with 4 to 5 people in each, which is wonderful. So what I'm going to do, you have team 1, team 2, team 3, and team 4. So these are the different outlines. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just take a screenshot of how the rooms will be configured. And then I'm going to put it here on the Mural board, somewhere here. So you know which outline to play with when I give you instructions to play with it. Okay, so let me just bring that from. Is that the screenshot? No, I think. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger so you can actually see. All right, so is that, let me see. Okay, so take a look which breakout room you're gonna end up and just write down that number. because that's the area that will be working on. Is that okay here? So if you're in room 1, then you will be in this outline 5 and the team 1. If you're in the room 2, you will be in outline 6 and team 2. And team 3 is this one, and then team 4 is outline 8. Okay. And what you're going to do, you're actually going to start using some of these post-its to think about all those ideas and all those aspirations and skills that you may add in these specific areas. What I'll do to begin with, I will start you all in the private mode, which means that whatever you're typing in these post-its, no one is going to see them until I disable the private mode. The reason why I want to do it, because so be mindful, you will still talk about these things. So whatever you're going to share, you will still be discussing. But the first step, I want you to be very comfortable with typing and then changing your typos or changing what you wrote, completely deleting. So going through that creative process without being a little bit apprehensive about, oh my God, people are watching me what I'm typing. Am I typing it correctly? So I want to remove that barrier. Okay. So that's why you're going to be in the private mode, typing in whatever you feel is needed to be shared in these specific areas of the Ecocycle. Okay, so let's take maybe 5 minutes because you have many areas. And we'll try to do it in the silent mode because that's the best way to focus on things for people and write. But if you have questions, ask them. Okay, because I want to make sure that you understand what goes where and you're not confused. Okay, so questions before I start the timer. What's confusing? I know something gotta be confusing. So what's confusing?
I don't remember when I get my number, what that topic correlates to.
When you get your number, so this is your so Melissa, where are you? You're room 2.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
you are in the room 2. So that's why I suggest that take a look at which room you're in, so that way you know which area to go to. So if you're Melissa, you're in room 2, and then what you're going to do in this board, you're going to click on the outline on the team 2. So once you click on team 2, it will bring you into a specific area where you will be adding ideas, your goals to this specific Ecocycle. And then you have a few post-its around each area. So you can actually type on them, whatever it is that you need to type.
Okay, thank you.
So that's how you will be adding on to them. And so because we will be in the private mode, people will not see what you're typing, but they will see that you've taken that, post-it. So there is no danger of people typing over each other. So that's there. Okay. Great question. Thanks, Melissa. All right. Let's do it then. I'm going to start the timer. Let's make sure that everyone found which area they need to be in. So raise your hand or give me some kind of signal if you're still trying to get into the area you need. Okay, Melissa, you're still trying to get there. Are you in the mural?
Yes.
Okay. Are you able to see the outline board like this one? If not, then you need to click on this. So if you just came into the board, then you're probably going to see this disabled. And so you'll see this little button that looks like a bunch of bullet point list. Okay. If you click on that button, that's what's going to open up the outlines for you. Are you there?
Yeah, it's grayed out. You know what? Let me try to get out and get back in the board, but I don't want to hold up the exercise, so we can start it. I'll catch up for sure.
Gilbert, what about you? You also raise your hand. Are you able to get in? Okay, excellent. All right, so I'm going to start the timer. So let's take the time to add all these different, again, ideas, future skills, aspirations, anything, certification you want to take, class that you've been thinking about, whatever you want to add to this Ecocycle, just put it in. And then we'll have a discussion what to do about it. So 5 minutes and go. Okay, about 1 minute left. Okay, so 5 minutes are up. So I haven't enabled the private, I haven't disabled the private mode yet, but what I'm seeing, just an observation, because what becoming white, that's where the things were written on. So just an observation that very few things are in the rigidity trap for people. And I wonder if you're all being honest with yourself. Just something not necessarily for right now, but when you do it individually with yourself, just try to kind of really look at what is that you're holding on to that is no longer serving you. Okay, just kind of keep that in mind. So what we're going to do next, I'm going to open up the breakout rooms, and you will find yourself with 1 or 2, or in some cases 3 other people. And together you're going to look at what is it you generated as a group. So typically when we do it in a little longer session, we would start with people doing the ecocycles individually, then coming together and discussing them in pairs, and only after that merging them together. Because this is a short session, we are merging them together almost immediately. And what I'd like you to look at, what are some of the patterns that are emerging? Are you seeing something similar in the same areas for your specific group? Are you seeing same things in different places for your team? So kind of look for what's there, like what's emerging. Imagine that this is the group you're coming together with, this was the actual team you're working with. And these are the different skills and aspirations that people in your team are bringing or looking to gain. Okay, so that's the perspective I'm inviting you to take when you go into these conversations. Okay, so I'm going to open up the breakout rooms, send you there for another 5 minutes, and you can have a conversation with your team and just observe what are the different patterns. What you'll notice is that I also included here 5 powerful questions. This is what you can ask each other when you're discussing these things. What do you truly want? You have all these different things, but what is that you truly want to accomplish with your career? What about it is important to you? And if you want to make any changes in the ecocycle, you want to move things along the ecocycles, then what will you do? And when do you think you can do it? And the other most powerful questions, what else? What else? And what's next? Okay, these are just, again, suggestions for you. You may ask different questions, but it would be interesting if you ask these ones as well. All right, ready to meet your partners? All right. One thing I want to ask, if right now you have your camera off, when you get into your breakout rooms, if it's possible for you to turn it on, it would be wonderful, because then your partner would really appreciate that face-to-face conversation. Thank you. All right, I'll see you back in 5 minutes.
Was illuminating. You know, I have a tendency to overthink and frankly overshare. But so it didn't. A lot of the ideas that came out were ideas that had run through my mind. It was great to see it organized graphically, right? Also, to your point at the beginning, you know, you are right. I did not complete any of the trap information on the left and the right. And as soon as you pointed that out, I'm like, oh, I know what those are.
Yes. Yeah.
So those are all mine, I think. So, you know, yeah. So I mean, I think it was very valuable.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And I encourage you all to go back and just do your individual ecocycle now that you're doing it one-on-one with yourself. Just go as deep as you can, because that will give you the best perspective. Just like what Gilbert shared, it gives you that visibility into where things are, and some of the things that are in your head, when you're putting them in paper, then you can see, or in Mural for that matter, you can see how much is that you're holding in your head, and all that volume of things is actually preventing you from doing something about that volume.
Right. Yeah, and what's great about it is a lot of the things that, you know, oh, you know, I need to worry about unhealthy attachment to this venture. Like, you know what? that's like years away. I really don't need to worry about that right now. But at least since I know I wrote it down on a little Post-it, I can give myself the peace of mind.
Yes.
I don't have to worry, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Any other reflections? What other people thought about this little taste of Ecocycle?
Well, I was confused on it, so I had to connect with the team and just double check my understanding. I still have a little confusion on something, but so what I did with the team was I just gave them, like, my situation. I'm trying to go towards Scrum Master, Product Owner, working towards that, and I know my setbacks will be, I need more professional experience, and I have certifications, and I'm filling in the gap with my volunteer work and getting more exposure to that through the networking. So I was trying to work with the team and see, like, where, like, what they're thinking, where we're on the same page, and how to use this model, because it's the first time I've been exposed to it. So I was kind of slow to absorb everything. So that's kind of where I stood in all of this.
Yeah, and typically when we run this for real, it's much more time that we allocate to this structure. So it's not in 15 minutes. This was very brief, and I just wanted you to kind of get exposed to it, because usually when I run this as part of the class, I give this as the homework, and so people individually plot everything that they want to think about on this Ecocycle. So they take as much time as they need because it's a homework. And then next day they're coming to the class, and then we start with two people conversations. So like you, Jonathan, are going to walk me through your Ecocycle. I'm going to walk you through my Ecocycle. And then we're going to share some ideas, just like what you did with the rest of the team. You ask for their feedback. That's exactly what's happening. That conversation around, hey, I see you have something here in maturity. I have never heard about that thing. What is it? And then the person tells, like, oh, I love it. So I'm going to add it into my gestation because I just heard about it and it's awesome. I want to do that, and I want to read up on that. So that cross-pollination, that inspiring each other, that's what happens as part of conversations. And then again, when you start merging them, especially for the team level, you start looking at possibilities for cross-training. Because let's say someone has Java skills in their poverty trap. They want to learn them, but they have no way, no time, whatever. And then someone has Java skills in maturity. So maybe these two can pair program or do something together to help the team get better at that specific skill.
I see. So it's like exposing bits and pieces for everyone on a team level, and they come together to help each other. I see. That's very helpful.
Yeah, you can use it as the glorified skills metrics, right? Because it gives you similar information, but it also gives you insights into for specific skills. What is that my interest in that skill? I know it's needed for the team, but me personally, do I care about it? Or is it something in my rigidity trap that I still do it, but you know, I'm ready for something new? And that's important to recognize too, because especially when we're dealing with the teams and the different skills, it's better to give a person an opportunity to learn something new in this team, in this company, than to see that person leave and go elsewhere because that desire for something new was not satisfied here.
Very good point.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other reflections?
For me, it brought up a couple things that I didn't realize I had maturity in, and kind of gave me a little bit of a confidence boost to go, oh, yeah, that's not birth, that's not renewal. I've got that down.
Yeah,
that was fun.
That's awesome. That's a good reflection. Thank you for that. All right. So, show of hands, how many of you are going to do this individually when you go back? Okay, awesome. I think my job is done here. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your attention. I really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit. So reach out to me on LinkedIn. As I was telling Susmita, I love connecting with people. So happy to continue the conversation.
Thank you so much, Dana. That was a really wonderful session. I know I personally, I think the power of this is to visualize and that your career journey and what your strengths, what your rigidity traps are, and understanding where you want to get and seeing it big picture. I like this visual versus the skill matrix. I know I'm personally going to try this and complete this. It's in its entirety for my career journey. Again, I appreciate, I know we've got a few minutes. If anyone wants to ask any questions, we can probably take a couple of questions.
I had a quick one.
Sure.
So I don't know if I caught it correctly. Did you say this is one of your favorite tools to use?
So within the liberating structures, there are 33 of them. So this is one of the structures that I really love. Okay. There are others which I love as well, but this one, I like it for the depth of information and the perspective that it gives.
I see. I can definitely see where the depth of info definitely can come from.
Yeah.
Do you have, out of those structures, do you have one that you would recommend that could be like a easily what's the word I'm looking for? Like if I were to give it to my team with very little explanation, like is there one in there that it's kind of like straightforward? Like if time, like say time's an issue and I want to do something with them, I want to pull information. Is there one that kind of stands out to you?
So the easiest one that a lot of people are familiar with because it's easy to start with is something that's called 1, 2, 4 all.
Okay.
So Gilbert is nodding. You've heard about it before, right? So it is the easiest one to start, and it's also the one that is actually very valuable for bringing in all the different voices, introverts, extroverts, because it starts with 1 minute. Everyone is just writing down what they have to respond to your question. So you, as a facilitator, you're coming up with the question, and the question could be feedback on this session, or what's one idea you want to make sure we implement in the next iteration or next sprint. So you can use it as a mini retrospective. It could be, so any question you come up with, you can use that structure. Or what's the best idea we want to discuss in this meeting? What's the most burning question that you have after this session? So anything could be asked as that question on the invitation. Then you give everyone a minute to write the response. And that's, again, that's silent brainstorming. So everyone is doing it. Introverts, extroverts, everybody, every single person in the room is writing something on their post-its. Then the next step is 2. So this is where you put 2 people together. And now they have 3 minutes to discuss what they wrote on their post-its. And if there are additional ideas coming out from that conversation, that's great, because right now in that step, we're still diverging. So we're still generating more ideas. After 3 minutes, you're merging pairs, and now you're creating the 4 people groups. And that's why it's called 1, 2, 4, because you're progressively increasing the number of people in the group. What's also happening, you're expanding the circle of trust, right? Because imagine, as an introvert, it's hard to speak in front of the group, right? But it's much easier to speak to another person. And that's what the 2 does, is the 2 people are able to speak to each other and generate more ideas. And if nothing else, your idea that you wrote down on a piece of paper was heard by at least another person in this room. Okay, so when you get together as a group of 4, you're coming with your buddy. It's not the 3 strangers anymore, right? So you're bringing one person that you already spoke to. And so now the other pair are coming again, same. They now know each other now, they spoke to each other. And in 4 people group, what they're doing, they're discussing those ideas that they came up with, and now they're selecting 1 or 2 ideas that they want to share with the rest of the big group. Okay, and then they have 4 minutes to do that. So it's 1, 2, 4, and then the last step is all together, the entire room. It could be as large as like 400 people. It could be really run at any size of the room. So that's when you have one person from each 4 people group just sharing out that 1 or 2 ideas. So that's the easiest one to start with, and it works really well, and you get that feeling of energy and ideas generated in the room, and it's just easy introduction to liberating structures.
I like that. I'm definitely going to experiment with that and read up on it for sure.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, look up different meetups because there are many of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to run the class. I'm not running it right now just because I'm focusing on professional coaching. But whenever I run it again, I can definitely share the information.
I love that.
Yeah. But even before that, definitely look up meetups. There are the place where Henry Lipmanovich and Keith McKindle come a lot. There is a meetup in Seattle, Liberating Structures in Seattle, so you can check that out. I'm running the meetup in New York City. We are going to be running on 15th of March. There's going to be a session. So again, everyone is welcome to join. It's absolutely free, and I'd love to have you there.
Awesome. Is that virtual or is that a?
It's virtual. Yeah, it's virtual.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And now everything is virtual. So that's why we can join all these different places and meet new people.
Yeah, I'm down for that. Thank you.
Awesome. Of course.
That is awesome. I appreciate you sharing that information. And that was a great question, Jonathan. With that, that brings us to the end of the session. Again, thank you, Dana, for that wonderful session, and the Agile Learning Academy and the Culture and Strategy group for having done the vendor and the icebreaker segment for today. Thank you, everyone that has joined us today. And please do join us again in our next event on March 18th. With that, stay safe, stay brave, stay agile.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Great session.